We are on page 476. When Savitri is being given a program for yoga. There are two questions which we can perhaps need to answer before we proceed. One of them was asked to Sri Aurobindo. The other also was asked, but in an indirect way. The first question which was asked was with regard to prayers and meditations. That since the mother is already divine, why does she has to do sadhana? So we see that Savitri is the divine mother. She is an incarnation of the divine mother. So what is the sadhana that she has to engage in? And then Sri Aurobindo answered it. There are several sides to this answer. One of them, which is the very obvious answer, which we'll see in Savitri itself in the next canto, where she is told, "For man thou seekest, not for thyself alone." So the divine mother does the sadhana for the earth. So by doing this, she prepares a whole path within the earth. Whatever way she moves, that becomes a journey, a road. So one can move through that path because she opens the path. She travels like a human being, and therefore other human beings can travel through that way. Second is, she shows to us how to do the sadhana, what really is sadhana, what really is yoga. So that also is for us. And third is, of course, though she is divine from the very childhood, but it's a progressive manifestation that takes place. This also Sri Aurobindo has revealed that it's a progressive manifestation. There is a moment when she becomes aware fully of her mission. The mother speaks of this in her own way in some of her conversations. For example, at one place she says that, well, I was, even as a child, the first thing I became conscious is of consciousness. But it's later as the bodily instruments developed that other things developed which were necessary for the work. Then when she was asked that how and when you became conscious of your mission, she says that between the age of 11 and 13 there were certain experiences that she had, and in that many beings would come to her and instruct her in the body sleep. And with one particular being she had formed a special relation whom she used to call Krishna. When she came to Pondicherry, she realized that this is the Krishna. Sri Aurobindo is the Krishna whom she had always been connected with from a very long time. And then she says cryptically, this is enough to say why I am here and what is my work. So as the being develops, the avatar becomes more and more conscious and everything blossoms like that. It is very different from us doing the sadhana. And the answer is, again, what is the difference comes with the second question. And the second question is, was Savitri destined to bring down the supermind? So is that also part of a destiny? Well, we can better use the term mission. She was missioned for this. And the difference is that normally destiny applies to a certain number of possibilities that are there within the realm of the cosmos. Let's say, reduce the cosmos to a small ball, this small room, this example the physicists use. So let's say the whole cosmos is a single room and there are 6 balls in that room of different colors. And those who are in that room can find one of these balls. Now they can take this path, that path, they may find quickly, they may find after a long time. Who will discover what? That is a realm of possibilities. But there is a 7th ball beyond the room and nobody can find it because it's not part of the destiny of earth. They can find within this range. So human beings had a certain destiny up till now. They can stay in a state of tamas or rajas or sattva or go beyond the 3 gunas in a trigunatita avastha, find moksha. This was the destiny so far possible within the realm of cosmic possibilities. But what the avatar has to do, he has to bring in a new possibility within the cosmos. And that is why he has to face the resistance of the whole cosmos. Because the moment 7th ball comes in, it's not as easy as that I am God, I am going to plant it. If all the 6 are going to react, even 2 human beings well established or one person and the second one comes in, there is a tussle, because the whole adaptation which has to take place of the new forces. Mother speaks of it, that when the supermind descended, nature did not accept it. Nature was saying that, why, what is your hurry? I am enjoying the play. Man is such a lovely toy. I can play with him, make him speak, make him cry. So much drama. 24/7 I have a television show. Why are you in a hurry? So she did a very nice, interesting trick. Mother speaks of it in Message of 1958. Mother says, I became one with nature and started playing the play with her. So nature said, I have got a friend coming within my range. She became one with nature. And then as they were playing, she started introducing this new element. And as she started introducing this new element, a point came when nature realized, this is making the play more interesting. It's not something which is going to threaten me. It is bringing in new possibilities which are going to make this play even more interesting. It's like people had a resistance when T20 and one day matches came. 5-day match is so interesting. Now nobody likes to watch the 5-day match. So she brings in a new possibility, puts into nature, and then she says at a point of time, now nature has accepted this new substance and it will be automatically integrated in the bodies of the coming children who are going to be born. It will automatically go into them because nature has accepted it. But that acceptance takes time. We see in Savitri that even after Savitri has made death into her own instrument, even then, when she is face to face now with the cosmic divine who stands behind this entire evolutionary journey, so even he says, why do you want to change? The whole chain will get disrupted. Men do not want it. So one wonders, why is the divine resisting the divine? The cosmic divine, within the cosmic play, things which are manifested, that's the charge given to the cosmic divine. And he knows it's going to create a tremendous change, upsetting of the whole course. But eventually, of course, he accepts. But before that, he says, here you cannot make the final choice. You have to go to the next level, which is transcendent sphere. That's where the change comes. So the avatar represents the action of the transcendent in the cosmic realm. Normally, we operate within the cosmic realm, and human beings have number of destinies at any given point of time. Depending on the path we choose, we will arrive at these destinies through a long way, short way. Now a new destiny has become possible for Earth. And that is the destiny of the supramental transformation, because of the yoga of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. But this destiny doesn't mean automatically, it's like a seventh ball now present in the room. But I may still want the old ball. It doesn't mean automatically everybody will get the seventh ball. It's a new possibility. We have to also do something on our behalf to arrive at that possibility. Because this also people thought that suddenly one day everybody will wake up and become supramentalized. No, that is there, there is, but because of its presence, all the 6 balls, there will be a certain reshuffling, readjustment, etc. But we have to still seek that 7th ball, and that's where when Mother was asked what we have to do, she said, cling to nothing and have a thirst for truth. This is a different part. But meanwhile, there is a program which comes to Savitri as Savitri's Yoga. Looks very simple, just about 18 lines. I think 18 lives are not enough to practice it. But that's what yoga is, to compress 80 lives into one life. So that's what is expected. But there is something not given here. So many people take it that, this is what is the integral yoga. Well, in a sense, yes, but in a sense, no. Because if you see Sri Aurobindo's own writings, this is more or less the synthesis compressed into a series of 18 lines. But subsequently, with the coming of the Mother, with her assuming charge, the refrain changed to more and more to open to the Mother, open to her grace, her love will do everything in you. So when Mother was asked, how do we do this sadhana? It is such a difficult sadhana. If we read these 18 lines, we'll realize how difficult this sadhana could be. So she said, but who is asking you to do this? All that is asked of you is to open to me. And Sri Aurobindo also said that if we can do it, If we can allow her to act within us, then the rest is done automatically. Mother has used the word, it's an act of faith through which everything can be done. But that also is, of course, I suppose, perhaps not so easy for human nature, but that's as easy as it can become. Yet, if we have to do something called as a some self-enabling sadhana, as Sri Aurobindo wrote in a letter to Nirodha, that one must depend on grace, at the same time one must do some self-enabling sadhana. But the divine does not give the fruits based on your efforts, but on the sincerity that is there behind it. So most important is to put a genuine effort. So here is the sadhana of Savitri. And as I said, we can also in a certain sense apply it to us. At least these stages in some way or the other appear as one moves through this yoga. The voice replied, "Remember why thou camest." This line I find very, very useful practically. Mother says in one of her early conversations, every day we should spend some time in remembering why we are here. What is the goal and aim of our life? And it's very, very helpful from a practical point of view. Even in the Ishupanishad, we have a line, Om Krato Smar Kratam Smar Krato Smar Kratam Smar. O will remember what thou were. Remember that which was done. Remember that which was done. Remember. So it's a constant remembrance of the divine and the purpose for which we are here. It's a very, very powerful way. It keeps us oriented. It's the compass. So whenever we are lost, whenever we are distracted, there are 100,000 things which can distract us. So at that time, the orienting process is by remembering what am I here for. So it immediately sets the compass right and the boat begins to steer in the right direction. So the first command is remember why thou camest. Of course, for Savitri, it's to transform the entire mankind, to open the way, to bring in a new principle. But for us, it can be, why have we come here to serve Mother and Sri Aurobindo, to discover the soul, whatever, depending on each one. But this remembrance of the goal is a wonderful thing. The next step, find out thy soul, recover thy hid self. The very first step in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, Sri Aurobindo repeatedly says, is find your psychic being. That's your true being. Till that is done, all other things can be risky and dangerous. So yoga is not about having fantastic inner experiences, visions and voices, but to first start with to find the soul. And there is much that is given in Sri Aurobindo and the mother's writings, how to find it. Even we had the message on 21st February, which is a portion of a conversation when mother was asked, tell us something about yoga. That incidentally part of the first documented conversation of the mother. So when the disciple asked, tell us something about yoga, she says, what do you want the yoga for? So this, remember why thou camest. Do you want it for power? Do you want to help humanity? Do you want to become a yogi? None of these things show that you are ready for the path. So if these are the things we want, we are not even ready for the path. Do you want peace? These are not the reasons for going for yoga. So the first thing you have to answer is the divine the raison d'etre of your life? So is the divine the purpose of our existence? This is the word she uses, purpose. So if that is the goal, that divine is the purpose, it doesn't matter who he is, what happens in my life, what doesn't happen in my life. Everybody's life is full of good and bad things based on mind's evaluation. Whether they are good or bad, it's another question mark. But we may find it pleasant, we may find it painful. There is not a single life on earth without it. But we make too much fuss about what happens in our life and too little about what happens in others, which is a sad part that, we are very unconcerned about the pain of next door neighbor, but acutely sensitive to our own pain. Nevertheless, these things are just things on the way, not of much importance. Important thing is remember why thou camest, what we have come for. Divine, is he the purpose of our life? Then she says next step is where she says that once we are clear about this, the purpose, then we have to tend this fire. And for that the process is concentrate, to go within. There is a fire burning there. Roll up these strings of consciousness and take a plunge. So this is what that the next step is find out thy soul, recover thy hid self. So this is the second thing that we have to do. In silence, seek God's meaning in thy depths. What is the divine intention in me? We are all the time worried about what my ego wants, what my desire wants, what others want, and we are busy fulfilling all these 101 things. At the end, nobody is satisfied. We are not satisfied with what we wanted. The others are not satisfied with what we have done, and life goes on. But if we could just spend a few minutes in quietude, what God wants from me? Of course, we may get an answer that I don't want anything, but just be my child. It's wonderful. Not so easy. To Dara, mother said, okay, just be simple and be happy. That's what God wanted from him. And he said after 2 days, mother, this is very difficult. Can you give me some simpler work? So, divine may just want this, that all that I want my child is that you be open to me. Fair enough. But what is God's meaning in my depths? What is His purpose in me? What is His purpose in others doesn't matter. Many times people get into a very meaningless debate on who is greater, this path, that path. 1,000 paths. It doesn't matter. To each his own. There is no quarrel. But what is shown to me, I must be faithful to that. I should not start jumping from here to there and there, because then one gets nowhere. But others equally have a right to, in different people, divine wills differently. There are those who seek nirvana and they have a right to seek nirvana. Nobody should try to convert them into yoga of transformation. Poor fellows will be lost. They'll curse us that, it was such a nice thing. Every day I meditated, felt some peace. What yoga have you suggested? Now my peace has been taken away. It's not meant for everyone. It's perfectly fine. This yoga, there is nothing like converting others. What is God's meaning in me? That I have to be faithful to. In others, He may mean different things because He loves He loves to take variation. Divine does not like to be monotonous. He doesn't repeat the same thing in everyone. So in me, what is God's meaning? And that is for me. Then mortal nature changed to the divine. It's like suddenly from one peak we have jumped on to the ultimate. Then mortal nature changed to the divine. So these are the steps. One is to know what is the purpose of our existence. Remember why thou camest. Second step, to discover the soul. And then to find out what is God's meaning. What is the path? What is the journey? What is His purpose within me? And then finally, to transform the nature. Then it is further elaborated. Just like in Gita, we have first 6 chapters summarizing. Then the next 6 chapters elaborating upon it. Then the last 6 chapters are developing upon it to its utmost. That's how the Gita works. 6, 6, 6. So Sri Aurobindo follows a similar pattern. First he has given in 4 lines, in a nutshell, what is the agenda. Now we have these wonderful steps. Open God's door. Enter into His trance. There are many kinds of trance. There is a trance of the higher consciousness. There is a trance of the inconscient, what is called as caste samadhi. There is a trance people enter by taking drugs, where they enter into dark regions. It's described in the Upanishad. So, it's not something new. Vivekananda ji speaks about it in Raj Yoga. There are various kinds of trances. There is a trance of unconsciousness where people sleep off. And when they get up after 1 hour very fresh, they feel I had a very good meditation. And others are very impressed that 1 hour he was sitting bolt straight. Various kinds of trances. What is God's trance? His trance. Something very amazing. The mother speaks of it. When she came to Sri Aurobindo, one of her questions was, in fact she had 2 questions. One was about the experiences she was having had gone beyond the rishis of the Upanishads and the Vedas. So she asked Sri Aurobindo, she wanted to confirm it, that why am I experiencing these things? The Upanishadic rishis don't speak about it. Sri Aurobindo confirmed, yes, you have gone beyond them because there is something else you had to do. The second thing that she asked was, I have never experienced that kind of trance which people so much celebrate in India. Sri Aurobindo's answer was, so also I have not experienced it. And then he of course elaborated, thankfully. He said what generally people call trance. In fact, there he simply says one word. It is a kind of unconsciousness. So what was the trance that Mother and Sri Aurobindo were experiencing? People saw that very often Mother would suddenly in the middle of a sentence, even as a child she used to experience it. She would suddenly go into what people called as a trance. And some people were very lucky that she would have kept her hand on their head or shoulder and she would go into a trance. So one of them was telling me, it was such a nice thing and we were praying that she doesn't come out of that trance soon. Sometimes for 45 minutes, she's in a state of trance and this person is there. So this used to happen in Mother very often. But she would know everything that is happening in all the worlds. Champak Lalji once, when she comes out, she tells Champak Lalji, it's there in Champak Lal Speaks, you think I don't know what is happening? In the supramental consciousness, I am fully aware of the ticking of the clock and what you people are doing. You think I have closed my eyes so I don't know anything. I know everything that is happening. So it's a kind of trance which includes the entire cosmos within itself. It's not at all by any means an easy thing. Normally when we go from one layer to another, we become unconscious of this layer. Like people who are in a thought, they become unaware of what's happening in the physical world. But God's trance is an all-inclusive trance, and that has a bearing on the kind of meditation we practice in integral yoga. In Synthesis, Sri Aurobindo describes there is an exclusive kind of concentration where we focus on one point and become oblivious of the rest. But Sri Aurobindo says in integral yoga there is a wide, all-inclusive concentration. It's a concentrated state in the background, and whatever comes in the atmosphere, within the paridhi, within the perimeter, radius of a reckoning, all that gets uplifted. That's another kind of a trance. So God's trance, we enter into His trance. Then the Dwarpal which doesn't allow us to enter. Cast thought from thee, that nimble ape of light. Ape. It imitates the light. Ape of light. And of course a monkey also. So it applies ape both ways. So what does it mean, cast thought from thee? If we look at our thoughts, there are many thoughts which are really useless thoughts, which have no meaning at all, no purpose at all. Sometimes we worry for no reason at all. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Well, it's beyond us what's going to happen. So let's remain quiet in that. Sometimes we discuss half animatedly about things, events. Well, these thoughts, many of these thoughts, very often concentrated on the body. Oh, I have a small little pain. Is it cancer? We can't think of anything less. It's almost a royalty to have a big disease. Can't have, sadhaks are not supposed to have smaller disease. Even the disease have to be something royal. Why? So many of these thoughts are just cobwebs. These are easy to discard. Then there are thoughts which forcefully come to take us away, and we have to be very careful of their origin. Where are they coming from? Are they taking us away from the central focus? And then we can systematically reject them. Then there are thoughts which are purely mechanical in nature. They go, as Mother says, frankly by grace. So when all other types of thoughts, these thoughts continue to trouble, and one should not get involved with them, just stays back and watches till finally they become weak, and eventually we will see how it happens. Next few lines. It goes as the divine touches us. It just goes away. And then a new kind of thought awakens in us. So when it is said cast thought from thee, it doesn't mean that become thoughtless. Then a new kind of thought which is nothing but an instrument of the divine. See how Sri Aurobindo in a silent consciousness wrote such wonderful things. So how did this thought come? This thought came sailing from the transcendent realm. It was a consciousness that came, took a body of words, came in the dress of thought and expressed through the words and speech. So this is a different phenomena altogether. So we have to be, as long as we are still moving in the realm of thought, too much about analyzing, intellectualizing, we are away from truth. Though we may get an illusion, that's why Sri Aurobindo uses the word ape. We may get an illusion that I can analyze so much, I can write books, I can talk so much, I can discuss and debate, therefore I know. One may one may have read everything about the divine. One may even create an intellectual synthesis about it, yet one may not know the eternal. Look at the mother's own example. When she came to Sri Aurobindo, she had such wonderful experiences, and she had already by then, of course, becoming conscious of her fullness of the avatar comes later. It's there in the prayers. But she had created a very rich synthesis of all these experiences, which she was bringing out in the cosmic review. But when she comes to Sri Aurobindo, there was one problem she was grappling with. She had realized inner freedom, union with the divine, all this was there. But these thoughts, mechanical thoughts, and this whole synthesis. So, Mother says so beautifully, 4 years I was struggling with it. And all that she had to do was sit by the side of Sri Aurobindo. And Sri Aurobindo was speaking to her husband who was sitting in chair. And while Sri Aurobindo was speaking, suddenly she experienced all this go away. And in its place, a blank. Next day she notes in her diary, I feel like a newborn child who has no karma, no past at all. Completely, that whole synthesis which was so rich and powerful. And indeed, this is surrender. Completely she offers it, and of course by the grace, by the silence descending, it just went away, just sitting by the side of Sri Aurobindo. So we have to, by whatever means, there are so many means, by whatever means it comes, we have to sooner the better come out of this ape of light. Otherwise we'll be stuck for a long time. Cast thought from thee, that nimble ape of light, in his tremendous hush, stilling thy brain. So here comes the secret. How to cast thought? When the divine consciousness, some touch of that consciousness descends, it brings peace and stillness spontaneously. And thought becomes mute, everything becomes quiet, and the whole nature is hushed, as Sri Aurobindo says, to a bright omniscience. His vast truth wake within, and know and see. So then what happens? A new perception begins to awaken in us. We have so many frames of references, perceptions, conceptions. We have read from here and there, from this journal, that person, this Guruji, that Baba. All this goes, and truth begins to appear. Know and see. So there is with it these two things, a spontaneous knowledge which awakens within, and there is also the seeing of truth. So this about the mind and the thought. Next, cast from these sense that veils thy spirit's sight. So the soul is unable to see the divine, who is the only reality. So very often this is another question that many people raise. If divine is the only reality, why we are not able to see it? So there is a theoretical question, there is a very practical answer, and there is a practical answer. If I were to give a practical answer, I will say, please sit quietly, I am going to do something. And I will go and put a bandage over the eyes and say, what do you see? So I'll say, no, there is sun, can you see? There is a table, can you see? There is somebody who can see. No, I can't see anything, open the bandage. That is the answer. So we are born with a bandage. The bandage called ignorance. And all our life we strengthen it. All our educational institutions strengthen this bandage. JNU is no exception. They also do the same thing. Higher or lesser degree. We strengthen the bandage of ignorance. Everything else is there except the divine. We teach to children from childhood the gospel of Hiranyakashipu, not the gospel of Prahlad. So as a result, we cannot see. Then parents also strengthen the bandage. What books are you reading? Mother and Shumi, what? No. History book. Not even history. Mathematics, engineering. It's a post-retirement plan. So we strengthen it. Then comes desire and ego with the growth. So thick bandage. Then we say we don't see the divine. Perhaps as little babies we see. That's why perhaps we smile, we are cheerful. When we cry, we know it will be heard. Somebody is there who will look after us. So this is the bandage. So we have to remove this bandage. And what is the bandage? Senses. Look, the things we think are the reporters of truth, are the falsifiers of truth. Originally, these senses, like everything else, owe their origin in the supermind. There is something called a supramental sense. But as these senses are organized in lower and lower levels, they become more and more conditioned by the consciousness. That means the mind in human beings, the vital in animals, and in matter, they are completely lost. Even in matter, these senses are there. But they are completely involved in the material consciousness. So matter is in a certain sense insensible, but this is only a kind of illusion. In deepest sense, it is not insensible. But in a certain sense, it's insensible. Animals, these senses again recover a little bit, they are organized differently. In human beings, these senses are organized by the mind. So what does the mind do? It divides things, categorizes. So senses also have to obey the master. So the senses are also distort, they divide, they see things separately. So therefore, the whole vision of the world is falsified. So what is the difference between this and what Shankara said, Jagat Mithya Brahma Satya? Mother gave a very interesting example. She said, it is true that the perception of the world as we experience it is false. Then she says, but it is not false in its origin. It is a distortion of a reality. Now this is the difference. When I say that my reflection in the mirror is not the true reflection because the mirror is broken, then it means there is something called truth which I can discover if the mirror is good, polished and perfect. But if it is distorted, the reflection is distorted. So the medium of the mind distorts the truth. She says, while people who followed the line of Maya believed it is false as such, and therefore one has to escape from a false reality, we believe that it is a distorted appearance of truth and therefore it can be set right. And this is a fundamental difference. But one thing is for sure, that we don't see things as they are. And on this point, physicists and spiritualists both will agree. Whichever way we approach it, we don't see things as they are. The fact is, we don't know what reality is. Our sight is misleading, our hearing is misleading. It's a very narrow range within which we see our senses operate. And they always confuse reality, conjure reality. They put a cover on reality. And that's why the Upanishad even goes on to say, there is the senses that create the world as they seem to us. So therefore, we have to slowly disengage from the senses. There are several methods given for it. And for example, in the Gita it is said, withdraw from pratyahar, withdraw from the sense appearances. But not by closing the eyes. That is one way. But it's a very temporary way. The problem with that is that we may become dependent on a certain method. There is another way where our senses are opening, and yet we are looking open, and yet we are looking beyond the phenomenal appearances. We are not getting caught with all the reactions that are arising within. So slowly we can start to see behind appearances. There are so many methods of going beyond the realm of the senses. But here we have a very interesting method. Cast from the sense that veils thy spirit's sight in the enormous emptiness of thy mind. If we see, why do we see and experience things the way we experience them? Because that's how the mind has conditioned us. The famous rope and snake illusion. So when we go to a place which we have heard from childhood, oh, this is a haunting place. There are programs which come on television, world's 10 most haunted palaces. It's a big money-making gimmick. Now people read it, oh, haunted. Now, they are already programmed. Then they go. Now the whole thing is kept in such a way. Some people will experience some kind of a haunted phenomena. Anyways, these ghosts and these people are moving all around the world. They don't need to buy a ticket. They are very scared of us, so they hide in some corners till we disturb them. But we have those associations. And if somebody doesn't experience, you can say, well, you are different, maybe you are strong. But it's a conditioning. The mind gets conditioned. It sees things, even where things are not this way. The mind begins to see. So if mind becomes quiet, if we look at our mind, it's filled with sense objects. It's so easy for the mind to be filled with sense objects. Most of the thoughts are connected to the sense experiences. Very rarely the mind will be with the realm of pure ideas, which would be wonderful. That's what makes the mind of the thinker and the philosopher and the sage. But mostly it's filled with sense objects. What happened during morning? What is going to happen during afternoon? What am I going to eat at night? One of the preoccupations. Even though mother has taken it away because of the dining room here, but then people are wondering, oh, tomorrow is Tuesday. Will we get the vegetable or not? Chena will be there. So, there is chena moving in the mind. So, obviously, what are we going to see? Chena. So, we have to quieten the mind. When the mind becomes quiet, then we begin to see the divine in the world. So, instead of following this method and that method of detachment, pratyahar, simple method is quietening the mind. When the mind becomes quiet, we are disengaged spontaneously from the sense appearances and we can connect with the reality that is the divine. In the enormous emptiness of thy mind, thou shalt see the eternal's body in the world. Then we will be prepared to see. As long as this condition is not fulfilled, we will get touches and glimpses, but not that vision which Sri Aurobindo had, Vasudevam Sarvamiti. We'll have touches, glimpses, many such things will come. They prepare the mind itself, quietening of the mind will take place. But a point will come when suddenly there will be a bursting forth beyond the senses into a rapturous something to which no name can be given. So that is seeing the eternal's body in the world. Know him in every voice heard by thy soul. Their experience of the mother, where she says, even in hostile beings, and this is very important because in Letters on Yoga, there is a section, the divine and the hostile powers. So people catch hold of that. Hostile forces. So everything that happens from a little fracture to headache to, excursions here and hostile forces. And if we really cared to read through the mother and Sri Aurobindo, the mother says Sri Aurobindo never wanted to follow this method. He insisted on the vision of the one. So much so that somebody who used to threaten the mother, to push her, Sri Aurobindo would have compassion. Because in everyone he was seeing the one. So even behind the hostile forces, and the mother says they are there because it's their purpose to distract us, to confuse us. And the biggest distraction and confusion is when we start seeing hostile forces everywhere. So instead of seeing the divine everywhere, we end up seeing hostile forces everywhere. Now hostile forces are there. They are part of sadhana. But we have to get the message. What are they doing? They are trying to touch upon some part which is insincere and showing us that spot. Once they have done the job, all that we need to tell them is, please go away. Thank you for doing your job. Now I'm going to offer this part to the divine. Bye-bye, tata. But instead we don't see what they have pointed out. We start seeing that fellow who has pointed out. That is dangerous. We should not get into that. And that's where he says that in that emptiness we'll see the eternal, hear him in every voice heard by thy soul. Look at this experience, what it would be. Mother would hear the divine Om even in the hooting of a ship. And when we hear mother's voice, some people say, mother, was she very old this time? Her voice is cracking. I mean, what does it matter? Divine's voice is divine's voice. It's wonderful. It doesn't matter. Those vibrations are there. They're so powerful, so beautiful. It doesn't matter at all. So we have to go to a point where every voice becomes the voice of my beloved. And there are such experiences of mystics, rare though, where they have seen this, they have experienced this. That's how, what is Meera's experience? When she was given poison, So, they tried everything. Finally, they thought that let's give her poison. She is gone. Those days there was no forensic, no human rights, and nobody will question king. So given and finished. What does Meera do? Oh, my Krishna has given it. It looks blue. Offers to Krishna and drinks it. This is a state of consciousness where everything is seen as nothing but the Lord, coming as a prasadam of the Lord. It doesn't mean we become blind to the play of the world. But this is a fundamental experience we must have. Then we can enter into the play and see the ups and downs and the, harmful and helpful forces. But otherwise we may get lost. Know Him in every voice heard by thy soul. In the world's contacts, meet His single touch. That's what that famous song. Teri talwar ke niche nachiyan kar chaiyan chaiyan. So, is even in every cutting of every drop of blood that comes from the body, Sri Aurobindo speaks of that, you take a sword and slay me, and all that I say is, my beloved. It's an experience that the mystics have. Even when they are being slain, Sharmad, slain by Aurangzeb, and he didn't have a winch of pain. Guru Tegh Bahadur. He posed a challenge. You don't have to convert others. Convert me and they will all agree to get converted. He tried all kinds of things. Eventually, even put his children on to, living death. All these things. But he didn't, because he could see that divine vision everywhere. He knew by this sacrifice there would be a liberation of the country from the Mughal rule. He could foresee it. So this is one state of one consciousness where in every contact one experiences a touch of the divine, however dangerous it can be. Even the mother goes to an extent where she tells Sutta, don't you know the story of Sri Ramakrishna? When a cobra bit him, he just brushed it aside and said, what, mother? You have come again? He saw Mother Kali and nothing happened to him. Now, of course, again, disclaimers, not to be tried by uninitiates. Next time, we'll straight away try on a cobra. Probably go near a cobra and say, bite me, I will say Mother Kali, and then Mother Kali will come, but after departure. Surely she will come. But she will take us and say, yes, you call me my child. Mother, yes, but that story, yes, see, I have come to take you, but not for the body. This applies to your soul. So there is a measure of this, but it's a possibility in which we can enter, where every contact is felt by us as a contact of the divine. All things shall fold thee into His embrace. Then what happens? Where is He and where is He not? All things shall fold thee into His embrace. Everywhere we can sleep on the mother's lap. Wherever we are. And there is a great delight in that. And then comes the third. So mind, senses, and then what is left is heart. Heart is not to be cast. Sri Aurobindo is not speaking of cast. He is saying, conquer thy heart's throbs. Let thy heart beat in God. He is not even saying beat for God. It's a concrete experience, not even an inner experience, but a concrete experience of the heartbeats beating in the mother, or mother in the heartbeats. People have asked Sri Aurobindo, is it true, this experience? He said, yes. Why not? The mother can be in the heartbeats. It's a true experience that you have had. Imagine what beautiful it is. Conquer thy heart throbs. Heart runs amok. Suddenly you see something very nice. Oh, India has won against Bangladesh, and the heart begins to beat faster. Oh, it didn't. So it's despondent. But if it is conquered, it beats in God. So that's what she is commanded. Then what happens when all these three instruments, the mind, the senses, and the heart, the passions, everything is quietened, stilled, opened into God's trance, then what happens? What will be the sign? Thy nature shall be the engine of his works. So we have to remove ego and desire which are installed, and in place installed the image, the living image of the Divine Mother. Then our nature becomes the engine of his works. We have to take away this lower Prakriti and in its place fill the Divine Shakti. So there is a transition phase. It's not that today we take it out and the other comes. Slowly and slowly the Divine Mother's Shakti comes and begins to drive away the lower nature and its workings and transform whatever is ready for transformation. That's the process of yoga till a time comes when all nature begins to respond to the Divine Shakti. And then it becomes an engine. What an engine? Of his works. It is upgraded. You can't run a coal engine on solar panels. You have to fix the panel, make some modifications. So that's a process. But here it's given in a nutshell. Thy voice shall house the mightiness of his word. So then the voice itself, the speech, carries the power of the divine. Because this voice, the mind has been hushed to a bright omniscience, and the speech has been opened to the divine consciousness. It's not just the spoken or the written word. The thoughts themselves become so powerful that they can change events and circumstances, align them to the divine will. Then shall thou harbor my force and conquer death. So these are the steps and stages. Last three are that we become conscious instruments of the divine design. The force begins to move the nature. Next is the voice and speech. Everything is perfectly tuned to the divine, expresses, manifests the divine. And finally, then we reach that point where we can harbor his force and conquer death. So this is the program. Very easy to read, as we can see. But lifetimes of sadhana, which by the divine grace can be compressed into a few, maybe years. Let's not use the word lifetimes because that's not a good thought. What is to be done should be done in one lifetime. So we will close here, come back after 10 minutes and continue.